grew up with someone, you don't remember somebody introducing you to somebody you grew up with. You understand what I'm saying? If they was always there, they were always there.
True that.
So it wasn't like we met up somewhere.
Right.
Nah. I mean, you gotta figure we from Long Island.
Right.
Long Island is 119 miles long.
Mm-hmm.
Where we're from, Roosevelt, Freeport and Roosevelt is not that big at all. Not that big at all. Roosevelt is 1 square mile.
Right. Okay.
So everybody knew everybody. So it wasn't that big. So Dr. Julius Irvin comes from Roosevelt. You understand what I'm saying? Everybody knew Dr. J.
Right.
Everybody knew Eddie Murphy. Everybody knew the members of Guy, the group Guy.
Exactly.
You understand what I'm saying? Everybody knew Busta Rhymes. Everybody knew Public Enemy. And we look at that area like it's an energy vortex because so many people come from that area. When you talk about Long Island, you're talking about Eric B. and Rakim, Big Daddy Kane, EPMD.
The legends.
The new school. I mean, I can go on. It was one of those kind of situations where we were always doing music. And I think it was I think if you're asking me for a defining moment, I think that defining moment would have to be Chuck getting approached by Def Jam and asked to sign as a solo artist, and he turning them down for a minute. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Until the whole idea of Public Enemy was put together, and then, you know, the members were actually kind of put together from working with one another in music. I don't care if it was doing parties or whatever. But I think that defining moment has to lie with Chuck and what Chuck was doing. Even before me taking on the road managing position, me taking on the leader of the X1Ws, me taking on the title of Minister of Information, even before any of them were in music, I was already there because I was already a DJ where we're from.
Right.
So I used to see Chuck B, you know, in the audience. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's how critical that was.
What did you go by? What was your DJ name?
DJ Griff.
DJ Griff.
Yep.
Okay.
And to the point where I outgrew the DJ part, it was just Griff. Because people knew when Spectrum City was there, it was always myself, Jerry J, and then it was Hank and Keith Shockley. And I know you know your Public Enemy history.
Yes, sir.
Hank and Keith Shockley were the two main members of the Bomb Squad.
Exactly.
So I was already doing the music before Flavor and Chuck and Terminator X.
Okay.
Before we became Public Enemy.
Really?
I think if we just talk street to one another, I think you would understand it better. It wasn't like somebody was putting people in place.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, yo, all of us are at these gigs. Roosevelt is not that big. Everybody know one another. It's like, yo, I heard y'all doing this. Oh, yo, that's going to be fly. But I'm doing this over there, and I'm doing that. So everybody was kind of doing their thing.
Okay.
So when it came time to see who wanted to roll, we didn't have to look far. These are people that we always work with. So it wasn't like, now, you know, myself, Chuck, we had to sit down and, along with Hank Shockley and Keith Shockley, come up with conceptual things.
Right.
You know, the name Terminator X and what we're going to call our crew and that kind of thing. Yeah, that kind of stuff had to be thought about, yeah. Because now, you know, we're stepping into something that, you know, we kind of figure may be a lot larger than ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, Chuck came up with the idea of calling it Public Enemy. Then we had to have a philosophy behind it. And we had to say, okay, well, this is what we're going to do. This is our ideology. This is what we're going to put out. This is what we're going to do. So it's a lot more intricate stuff went on behind the scenes that a lot of people just don't know.
It was just organic. It was just natural.
Yeah, of course. I mean, my thing is, even when I talked to Chuck, the other day. We had an hour-long conversation. Now, will some songs and some other ideas for things that we want to do in the future come out of that conversation? Of course. That's just the way we think.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? We came up with the whole idea of, you know, our sons who are in their 20s now, our children which are in their 20s now, putting together, you know, a group Enemy. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay, Sons of the Enemy.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that group may come out of a conversation or just us kicking it, eating dinner, or hanging out.
Right. Okay.
That's organic. I don't know. I think a lot of it is redundant. I think a lot of it is regurgitated fragments of what we have already put out there. You know, when we deal with archetypes, it's like one person that really did it and did it well. Everyone else is pretty much, you know, almost imitating, borrowing from, revamping and remixing.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? I mean, you could look at, I don't know, Justin Bieber, who clearly follows the line of Elvis, Eminem, and all the other culture bandits, stealing black people's music.
Exactly.
You can look at Usher and follow that back to Michael Jackson, even with Genuine and Prince, and right on back to James Brown and Sam Cooke, and, you know, we could go all the way back. Not to take anything away from any of them. I love all of them. But you could look back and say, okay, well, that's just what we do. And we give compliments to the people that we imitate. If Genuine studied James Brown's moves and he admires Prince, you may see it and hear it in his music, right or wrong.
Right.
Okay, but in hip-hop, we had a rule, man. You couldn't break anyone's lyrics or their music.
Exactly.
Oh, that was just a no-no, man. You got dealt with for that. But when you look at the accomplishments of someone like Jermaine Dupri, you say, okay, good business, man. But, you know, the whole biting thing was just a no-no. You can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Those particular things were violated and broken, especially when Puffy came on the scene, sampling the whole record. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
And because of who was backing him, he was allowed to get away with it. Culturally speaking, he would not have gotten away with that if it was left up to us. So black music needs, we need to press the cultural reset button on black music and bring it back to its to bring the integrity back, bring it back to its cultural roots. You understand what I'm saying? If you want to deal with the music industry as the game, as you put it, I'm trying to figure out what game, because ain't nobody selling those CDs no more. Because ain't nobody buying those CDs. Where'd you buy a CD from?
I don't buy CDs.
Oh, see, that's what I mean. you and millions of other people. So when you say they're the top sellers, what are they selling is what we need to kind of break down. You understand what I'm saying? We already know they're part of the machine world. And we already know that they're in the matrix. We already know that. We already know for what they put out, we already know what their agenda is. We don't have to spend time on the phone in this interview discussing that. We already know what that is because they're not ashamed to say it. They're not ashamed to put it in their videos. We understand that. We need to figure out, like, what is the agenda, though, when it comes to this this music and speaking outside of the music, because they're clearly speaking outside of the music. And you start to see people become billionaires and no CDs are selling. You kind of figure how they're making their money. We need to study all these ancillary properties that these people are making money based on the idea of a song being out. So are they making a song to sell a product, or are they making a song just for the sake of their art form? And I think I would kind of choose the latter because it's like, do the music need the product, or does the product need the music?
Yeah, I was watching a lecture of yours earlier, and you were saying, does art imitate life, or does life imitate art, in your opinion?
Exactly, because multinational corporations now have black music and black entertainment in a chokehold, whereas we used to use aspects of our entertaining and our making music and putting songs out to educate our people. Now